so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lord. I now recognize, also from New York, Mr. Goldman for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am from New York City, and as I sit here today, I would expect that this would be a really powerful hearing for the New York City Council, but not clear why it's one in the Congress of the United States, which seems to be fixated on New York. Another bill we had last week was totally focused only as a messaging bill only on New York. I appreciate that our witnesses are buddies of the chairman, but respectfully, none of you, other than Mr. Awade, have any expertise about immigration policy. And I've been listening to what you've had to say, and I just want to go through a couple of things so that we can make sure that our facts are correct. Mr. Blakeman, you are aware that every single migrant who has come through the New York City, the Roosevelt Hotel, has been vetted at the border, are you not?
They have not, sir.
Yes, they have.
In my
the ones who have gone
Sir,
through
can I
official
answer?
channels through the city
Sir, may I answer your question?
have been vetted at the border. I mean, that's a fact.
You asked me a question.
I'm
Would you like
asking
the
if you
answer?
know or not.
Would you like the answer?
Let me ask
sir?
you another question. Are you aware?
You gonna let me
that,
ask you-
No, I'm
answer
not.
the
I'm
first
not going to
one?
let you because you already answered it.
No, I didn't.
Are you aware that the proportion of migrants who have come through New York City who commit crimes is far lower than the general population?
Sir, I would not agree with your facts. I have spoken extensively with our police commissioner, who has indicated to me that because of the migrant policy, there has been a spike in crimes, especially organized burglaries.
Wait, sorry,
that are being done.
The commissioner, which?
Commissioner Patrick Ryder, we have the finest
from
police
where?
department
From where?
in the United States.
From where?
He is a commissioner who was appointed by a Democratic county executive, and I retained him.
What county?
The greatest county in America, Nassau County.
Okay, well, let me tell you, in New York
You
City,
visit once in a while.
in New York City, where almost all of these migrants are, the crime is much, much lower among the migrant community than it is among the general
I
population.
don't know where you get your facts
Now,
from, sir.
Go check it out. We're in a public hearing. You can check it out. Mr. Blakeman, let me continue. Oh, Mr. Ansbro, you indicated to me that one of the real issues, or you indicated to us, one of the real issues that the fire department is having is budget cuts. Mr. Blakeman, I think you said just a minute ago that one of the problems that the city of New York and the state of New York is having is that there is very little federal money flowing to help with the migrants who are coming. Is that right?
That would be Mayor Adams' testimony, not mine.
Okay.
I agree with
I mean, all right, you just
I
said
agree with
it.
him, but Mayor Adams
You just said it.
that.
Now, you're aware there's a program,
Democrat.
there's a federal program called the Shelter and Services Program that can reimburse localities and states for expenditures on immigration. Are you not aware of that program?
I think they provide a very small part of the financing and funding that would be needed.
I agree. Which is why, if we had Republican support, we could increase the funding in the Shelter and Services Program so that the federal government could offset the expenditures of New York City and of the state of New York through the Shelter and Services Program so that we would not have to have budget cuts to the FDNY. But you want to know what the problem is? In H.R. 2, their prized border security bill, it cuts all funding for the Shelter and Services Program. You know what else H.R. 2 does? It cuts all funding for legal counsel for unaccompanied minors. And, not surprisingly, it does not mention guns. Now, Mr. Blakeman, you've discussed, as several of you have, the scourge of the fentanyl trade that is going on in our country, and I agree with you. It is really bad. And we've had testimony from actual experts on this over the course of the last year who have made it very clear that the Mexican drug cartels are the ones who control the fentanyl trade at the border. And unfortunately, the Mexican drug cartels have that authority because they possess guns and weapons of war. But unfortunately, those weapons of war come from American manufacturers, not from Mexico or elsewhere. I have introduced a bill called the Disarming Cartels Act, which is designed to curb the exportation of weapons manufactured by American companies to the drug cartels, which fuels the fentanyl trade operation. There's not yet one Republican co-sponsor. I would urge my colleagues on the other side to recognize that the source of power of the cartels who control the fentanyl trade comes from American-made guns, and we need to stop that exportation, and I hope my Republican colleagues will join us in that effort. I yield back.
Well, thank you, Mr. Goldman.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to move quickly through a couple different questions. We established earlier credibility matters, certainly for witnesses who appear before us. Mr. Boyle, do you know who Kash Patel is?
I do.
Have you received any money from Kash Patel or his organization?
I have.
When you previously met with the majority members and/or majority staff of this committee, was Kash Patel present for that meeting?
No.
To your knowledge, has Kash Patel ever spoken to the committee members on your behalf?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Was anyone present for your previous meetings with committee members and staff on the majority that were not members of this committee or staff of this committee?
My counsel.
Your counsel? Anyone else?
I don't think so. No.
Is Kash Patel helping you finance your counsel?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Mr. Friend, what about you? Do you know Kash Patel as well?
Yes.
And did you receive any money from Kash Patel?
Yes, he gave me a donation last November.
A donation?
Yes.
Are you a charitable organization?
I was an unpaid, indefinitely suspended man trying to feed his family, and he reached out to me and said he wanted to give me a donation.
Did he have any, was he present for any of your meetings with committee members or staff?
No.
And how many times did you meet with the committee members or staff prior to your transcribed interview?
I never met with them prior to my transcript.
Did you speak to them on the phone?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so you spoke to them on the phone.
Yes, I spoke to them on the phone, corresponded.
Did you provide documents?
Yes, I gave them my written declaration.
Did they ask you whether they could share that with the minority?
I don't know. At the time, I don't believe they were actually in the majority.
Did they ask you whether they could share the documents?
I don't remember if they did or didn't.
I want to focus a little bit on that SWAT case that you mentioned, Mr. Friend, where the SWAT team was used to make an arrest of someone associated with the domestic violent extremist group. That was not your case?
That was a case that was within my office. The Joint Terrorism Task Force sort of ran all the cases together.
Okay. Well, did you work on that case?
My name is on it. I did not perform work for it.
Got it. And what evidence did you have that this defendant had offered to surrender to the FBI?
The evidence I had was in his conversations with the individuals from my office who he spoke to. He said that he would cooperate.
So he said he would cooperate with the FBI, but he never told you that he would surrender to an arrest. Those are two different things, you agree, right?
No, I wouldn't. If somebody told me that if you need anything from me, just let me know, I'll cooperate, I would interpret that to mean I could reach out to them if I had a criminal charge.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. All right, that's certainly not my experience. Mr. Allen, you passed around information to other members of the FBI related to January 6th, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were admonished by your supervisor not to do that, is that right?
I was not, sir.
You were not. So when it says here in the FBI's letter to Mr. Jorman of yesterday that your supervisor admonished you to stop circulating these materials on multiple occasions, you're saying right now that the FBI is lying to this committee?
That statement that they wrote is inaccurate.
Okay. Did you write to your colleagues to, quote, exercise extreme caution and discretion in pursuit of any investigative inquiries or leads pertaining to the events of January 6th?
Yes, I corresponded with my teammates.
Did you write that?
Yes, I wrote those words in the correspondence.
And that was That was after you had been admonished not to send information about January 6th, right?
I was not admonished to not send information.
But you do agree that your personal opinion should not influence your official duties, don't you?
No, you should be objective and analytical in all the, decisions and information.
No, that was my question. Your personal views should not influence your official duties.
No, you should be objective in doing the conduct of your job.
And now, Mr. Friend and Mr. O'Boyle, I don't have much time, but you agree that you were field agents, correct?
Correct?
And you understand chain of command, do you not, Mr. O'Boyle?
I do.
Right, so that if you make a suggestion to a supervisor and your supervisor overrules you, that's the nature of the business, isn't it?
Not if it's a violation of a law or
And you
rule.
make decisions about whether grand jury subpoenas should be served or not as a field agent of the FBI?
Time the gentleman is
If I have a
expired.
reasonable belief, I can make a protected disclosure, which is what I've done.
Okay, but do you think you make those
Time of the gentleman is
decisions?
expired. Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes himself. Mr. O'Boyle, why do you think they came down on you so darn hard? Deep down, what do you think their motivation is?
I think they want to, the agency as a whole wants to get rid of people who simply just don't toe the line that they want. They don't want critical thinkers. They don't want people who raise valid questions to their chain of command.
They want to send a message, don't they?
Absolutely.
They want to make you an example, don't they?
Yes.
And they don't care. They want to send that message so hard, so strong, they don't care that you served 6 years in the Army, member of the 101st Airborne, took enemy fire, was selected for a special new unit they were putting in Quantico. They wanted to send such a message that they said, if we can get this guy, we can get this guy to be quiet, we can get everybody to be quiet. That's what they were doing, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, especially since I just had a baby who was 2 weeks old, and we had just sold our house.
Just to put the emphasis on it, they said, we're going to do it the day he arrives. The day we've worked with him, we selected him, he's done a great job in the FBI, he served our country, took an oath to the Constitution, took an oath to defend this country. He's going to move, we're going to send all his stuff in this van to this moving. We're going to do that. When the day he arrives, we're going to suspend him. We're not going to let his family get their belongings. We're not going to let him get his clothes for his kids, his winter coats for his children. We're going to send a message. And they did. They suspended you. They took your pay. They don't let you get health insurance. They made life miserable for you to send a message. Because you know what? You reported on the first big screw up they had in this administration. The first big one. You reported to us as a whistleblower about the school board's issue. The Biden administration, they thought this was going to be a win for them politically. They thought it was going to make Terry McAuliffe governor of Virginia. Backfired on him. And you reported. Would it surprise you, Mr. O'Boyle, to know that the FBI told us they looked at 25 parents who were reported on this snitch line that was set up with this memorandum from the Attorney General? They looked at 25 parents. How many do you think of them were actually ever investigated and prosecuted? How many think were prosecuted, Mr. O'Boyle?
If I had to guess, I'd say 0.
Zero. And you came to us because you say this is wrong. This is wrong to set up some federal snitch line, some neighbor calling in because they don't like their neighbor's politics, reporting to the FBI, go investigate these parents. They said, we got to get this guy. We got to get Garrett O'Boyle because you had the courage to step forward. And it's not just with this issue, because we have the memorandum from the Richmond field office about Catholics, right? If you're pro-life, pro-family, and you're Catholic, look out. The FBI wanted to put people inside the church, inside the parish, to spy on fellow citizens. Does that surprise you, Mr. O'Boyle, that actually happened in the Richmond field office?
It doesn't, not anymore.
Scary. And you know that memorandum, by the way? It was signed off by 5 people in that office. One of them was the chief division counsel, a lawyer who supposedly went to law school and probably had a course on the Constitution, signed off on that memorandum. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. Mr. Allen, you served 20 years. You had a security clearance for 20 years. You served our country as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Honorably discharged.
Yes, sir.
Won medals from the Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
And they came after you too, didn't they? And you simply did. Mr. Goldman just asked you a few questions. You were simply doing your job. Your job as an analyst is to compile information, open source information, present that to your colleagues so they're fully informed about the case. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you did that job, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
You followed your oath, right?
Yes, sir.
You adhered to the rule of law.
Correct, sir.
You're consistent with the Constitution, just like the oath you took when you signed both as serve our country in the military and at the FBI.
Yes, sir.
And you did the same thing, didn't you, Mr. Friend?
Yes, sir.
And yet you felt the full weight of the federal government come down on you guys. And of course, they timed it perfectly. They sent a letter to us yesterday. We knew they would. We knew it was going to happen that way. And as Mr. Boyle said earlier, he's getting his hearing tomorrow, right, Mr. Boyle?
That's when they tried to schedule it. We've not heard back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your service to the country. Mr. Bishop was right. The poise, the way you've handled yourself, the gentleman way you've handled yourself here, the way you've served our country, it does not go unnoticed. The American people appreciate what you've done for our country and what you are doing for our country. God bless you. I yield back. Now recognize the ranking member of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At least you got a document.
Thank you. I stand here very confused. Later today, we are going to take a vote on opening a formal impeachment inquiry because, as the Republicans say, they need more evidence. Hunter Biden is here today, the central witness in this entire investigation, ready to give evidence to the Republicans, and they've refused to accept it. If you need more evidence and that warrants an impeachment inquiry, why do you not accept the testimony and the evidence that would be provided by their central witness? And the only answer is very clear from what has happened over the course of these 12 months. They don't actually want the evidence because the evidence completely debunks their baseless allegations. And they do not want the American people to see that their investigation has turned up nothing. This investigation has been done backwards from the beginning. They have reached conclusions about wrongdoing that Hunter Biden and President Biden have done, and they have spent the last year trying to backfill facts to support those allegations. They have over 100,000 documents. They have taken depositions of more than 10 Biden administration officials. They have bank records. They have IRS records, FBI records. They have National Archives records. The Biden administration has been exceptionally cooperative, even to the point that Chairman Comer himself said he has gotten 100% cooperation. And Hunter Biden stands here today ready to cooperate, ready to testify to the American people so that his words will be directly relayed to the American people and not through the manipulation that we have seen all year from the Republican Party, and they will not accept his testimony. What are they afraid of?
Thank you. And now Glenn Ivey from the Judiciary Committee.